Hey, how's it going guys, and welcome back to another special interview. I had the honour of interviewing multiple British champion, 2018 Commonwealth Games Qualifier, World University Games Medallist, and a very good friend of mine, Chloe Golden. In this interview, Chloe will be discussing how she's been doing over the pandemic, how she was able to focus mentally and physically through lockdown, her outstanding junior career, her breakout meet which allowed her to go to the Commonwealth Games, her ISL debut, and what her plans are moving forwards in the future. We also discussed about her food account on Instagram, Feeding Your Feed. I will leave a link in the description below for you guys to check out. I really recommend that you do. I will also link her social medias in the description below, so I really recommend that you check her out. If you are new to this channel, make sure you subscribe, leave a like on this video, and share this video with your friends and family. It would really help my channel out. So without further ado, let's get on with the interview. Enjoy. So in today's interview, it is an absolute pleasure to have multiple British champion, 2018 Commonwealth Games Qualifier, and a very good friend of mine, Chloe Golden. It is brilliant to have you on, Chloe. Welcome to the series.
Thank you. I'm excited to be on it.
Lovely stuff. First of all, what I would like to ask you is, how have you been doing over the pandemic?
Yeah, it's been okay. In the first lockdown, I actually moved back to my parents' house, and I haven't really lived at home since I was 14. So
Right.
spending that much time at home was different. But no, been getting on okay. Yeah. How about yourself?
Yeah, good. Happy just training on, obviously without having the pool, but just finding new ways to make myself better. And hopefully with Boris's announcement, we'll be in the pools very, very shortly. So going through like the first lockdown, were you able to focus on other ways on how to improve without having the access of the pool? Like whether that would be physically, mentally, or just any personal goals that you have made?
Yeah, definitely. So before the actual lockdown, it was kind of starting to look like everything was going to lock down. So I had a chat with my coach, and we thought, okay, if we're not able to get in the water, how can we make things that are my weaker areas into strength? So for me, I'm more of a back end swimmer, so working on that front end and power stuff was something that I could really focus on land, and something that was probably quite easy to do on land as well. So that was fun doing that. A lot of like power work, speed work, but also we had to do a bit of running, and that's definitely not something that I want to continue. But yeah, no, it was really interesting, and it was also nice just to have that time away. Obviously, it was like a time where we were coming up to this really big event, and then when we kind of found out that it wasn't going to be going ahead, it was just like, okay, so I'm going to use this time to chill a bit, because
Yeah.
I'm not going to have this big length of time in my swimming career again, probably, where I'm out of the water. So kind of just making the most of that and just taking a break from like normal life, really. So it was interesting.
Yeah, good. And it's good to hear that you were focusing on your weaknesses and developing them into strengths. And with that big event that you mentioned was, of course, the Olympic trials that was meant to take place in April last year. And obviously with everything that happened. So it's good that you've been working really, really hard on your weaknesses, and hopefully they will turn into strengths. And like you say, they are. So
Yeah.
moving on to your swimming career, you were a part of Ellesmere College Titans throughout your successful junior career. What was your junior career like, and with going away to international competitions such as European Juniors at a young age?
It was crazy, like the move to Ellesmere from where my parents are at the moment, where I grew up. I live from like a tiny town called Evesham, and I used to swim maybe 8 hours a week. Then moving there and swimming like 18 hours a week and doing ridiculous meters was crazy. But I definitely saw that massive improvement in the first 6 months I was there. I dropped maybe like 7 seconds on my 100 back long course. So
Wow.
it was a big jump for me, but it paid off, and it was really tough. I think the following year then made European juniors, as you said. And for me, that was like the first time that I'd really felt disappointed in my swimming. So that was at like that age as well, quite a young age. It was difficult to have that disappointment, and I probably didn't handle it very well at the time. Very emotional, not really sure what to do. I'd never really swam like really badly before. I didn't swim really badly, but just not where I wanted to be. But I think like my experience there, as you know, like Great Britain has great junior swimmers. So I think when you don't quite swim the way you want to, and everyone else who's there, or the majority who are there, are swimming really well, it's a struggle, because you're like, oh, I want to be there, you know, like why aren't I there? But then a few years later realise, okay, junior, like you're a junior, it doesn't matter, and then progressing to senior is what matters. So I think having that like kind of experience then was probably good, like set me up well, because I wasn't like overexposed to winning or like winning everything. So no, it was interesting, but definitely did me some good.
Yeah, that's good to hear, and it's good to hear that you've had said like a very open and honest experience when you were swimming as a junior. And a lot of people would think like being a very, very fast junior is a very, very good thing, but then you openly and honestly said that it's not always the glory being a junior, and it is the transition to senior. That's where it matters most. So that's a great message there, Chloe. Thank you. But like you say, you brought in the senior swimming scene at the 2017 Winter Nationals, which was also known as the Commonwealth Trials. You became national champion in the 200 metre backstroke, and also securing that crucial consideration time for the Commonwealths. And you've done the same in the 100 metre backstroke, which is absolutely extraordinary. So what was that meet like for you, and then being selected to go to the Commonwealths?
That was like I just said, that was kind of like my breakout meet, I think. And it was, and I knew going into it that I could swim really fast, and I think that's really what spurred me on. The 100 for me is always first, so
right.
That's good. I swam well, I got a PB, I got under the consideration time, but then knowing that actually I was in fourth, because you could get the consideration times from the previous summer, so I wasn't actually, although I'd got the consideration time, I wasn't going to be qualified for that event at Commies. So then kind of going into the 200, I was like, oh my God, like this is my chance. And I remember feeling just so excited for it, because I was like, I know here that I can swim so fast, and nobody expects me to swim this fast, but I know that I can. And I just remember like the last, I don't actually really remember the race at all, but touching the wall, I remember, and just thinking, I was obviously like really happy, but I was like, I'm not even surprised, because I knew that I could do this. But then in that race as well, I remember the Canadians were over, so Taylor Ruck was in the race, and she went like the world leading time that year, like a 2:06, and in the middle, I do remember kind of seeing her like, oh my gosh, she's so far ahead here, but I could still do this, you know, I can still get there. And that meet was just probably one of the best meets that I've had, to be honest. Yeah.
I remember watching that swim, because I was there just for a relay. I think that was one of the last days. And the way that you swam that race, it was like so professionally done. Like you said, your back end is the strongest part. I'm not sure, did you negative split that race?
I think I was just off. I came back 32.0, so I came back in that one. That was the quickest I've come back.
Wow.
So yeah, and I always kind of get a bit worried when I'm in training, like, oh God, how did I ever come back in that like before? But no, I remember swimming it, and as you said, like I know that I wasn't quite in there at 100, but I was like, it's okay. I know that I've got the confidence to take everyone else down. So that's confidence there is just what got me through it.
Definitely. And I think what's most impressive about that as well is normally in a typical swimming season, December is usually like a short course meet, but this was a long course meet for the first time for a while, but that was obviously because of Commonwealths. So for you to be able to perform so well in a long course competition so early is so impressive as well.
Yeah, I think because when I moved up to Manchester, I started like lifting. I was a lot stronger, and I was kind of going from like a late transition from like a junior athlete, even though I wasn't a junior. I think I became a senior when I was 16, so it was a lot earlier back then. But realistically, like my body, I was just a little girl, and then I was kind of like I was getting much stronger. And I remember in that summer, Mark was like, when we came back, he was like, right, let's get on it. And we'd planned to get on it straight away so we could perform at that meet.
Brilliant. So moving on to the actual Commonwealth Games, what was that experience like for you?
So it was amazing. Like it was such a good meet. The team was great. It was a big team. And I just remember like being like so excited, but also really nervous because it was like my first kind of senior thing. And obviously it being in Australia as well, and having all the traveling to do, having like the holding camp, it was just all very like new to me. I think that I probably emotionally wasn't quite prepared for it, and I think that although I was physically prepared, I was not ready emotionally for it, and that's something that I've now managed to get used to and practice and put myself in race situations a lot more often, so that I'm more prepared for things like that. So when my race was like day 5 and everyone had already raced, and it was kind of like I was so emotional because there'd been so many great swims, some not so good swims, but I was kind of going on that emotional journey, but I hadn't even raced yet, so I was almost like exhausted by the time I got to race myself. And I think that it kind of took over me a bit, and I got in my own head. I wasn't nervous until as soon as I walked out for that race, and then oh god, it was awful. It was so bad. But yeah, I mean, I think because I'd had such a big drop to qualify, then getting there and not swimming well, I was just like, oh my god, like this is awful. And it was my only race when I was out there. I remember at the time I thought it was the end of the world, but actually, you know, there's always another swim. So
Exactly. And thank you for being honest about that as well, Chloe. But like you say, it's all about experience, and that was your first ever senior team as well. So learn from that experience moving forwards when you go to other senior meets. You qualify for the World University Games in 2019, and
yeah,
you secured a medal there, didn't you?
yeah. So I got a PB there. So I think that although the crowd wasn't quite as big as the Gold Coast, that was like ridiculous, like 10,000 people, it was still like crazy loud. The arena was really big. So I think having that previous experience there, it really helped me kind of relax into the meet a lot more.
That's amazing. And just goes to show that the experience that you had at the Commonwealths, you were able to change that, and you were more prepared and ready emotionally as well as physically for that meet, and it shows that it pays off. So that's excellent to hear. So now you've signed with the New York Breakers and made your ISL debut last year. What was that experience like for you, in like having a very intense 4 to 5 weeks of training and racing?
It was like nothing I've ever done before, and I think that it might not happen like that again. So getting to experience that was, I feel really grateful to experience it, and then just to have that be just thrown into a team where there were a few British swimmers, but the rest of them don't know who they are, really. A couple of really big names, like Michael Andrew, Jeanette Otterson, which I was like, oh my God, I'm on a team with these people. That's really cool. And that was really exciting, because I thought, yeah, I deserve to be on this team with these people. So it was really, really good. And then to go and race the other teams as well, just get to have just even more exposure to racing those top names. So for me, I just think that, usually I'd get to race people a couple of times a year, maybe at like a summer meet, or like a Mare Nostrum, like a senior international meet. And then to get to race so many of them all at once was just so great. It was such a good experience.
Yeah, and it looked like a fantastic experience as well. I suppose it must have been very brutal and tough as well, having to do like competitions back to back, like weekend after weekend, as well as cramming in some training in between.
Yeah, because it was a big chunk of time we were there for. So I was there for 5 weeks, and in that time we had 4 prelims, and then we were in the semi-finals as well. So trying to do that, it was kind of like the college system in America, I guess. Having to do back-to-back things, and for me, normally, I do 200 back, I do 100 back a bit, and that's kind of it. But I had to then do like relays as well, and then also free relays that I was just completely out of my depth in. But it was so fun to do it, and racing back to back like that. It was really hard, but it was really fun, and because everyone's doing it, everyone's racing back to back. I think it was really enjoyable, and everyone kind of got each other through it, which was great.
Yeah, like you say, it looks so much fun, and it's nice to see that you had a bit of variety as well when competing, like doing different relays, doing front crawl, which you don't normally race as well.
Yeah, no, it was really good, and I mean, cheering in the box as well. I had such a fun time. There was one of the matches, I was a relay only swimmer, so I meant I had quite a bit of time to go sit in the box and really cheer for the team, and that was great. I imagine I wasn't in the first season of ISL, but I imagine in the future, when there's crowds able to go, how loud and how brilliant it would be.
Yeah, it's great to hear as well. Like the atmosphere was still there, even though there was no spectators or anything. So that's amazing. Yeah. So this year, you recently competed at the Manchester International meet that took place in February. How was that meet for you, and what was it like competing long course again for that's nearly been a year?
Yeah, it was really well run, actually. I love Manchester. I live in Manchester. I train at the pool, so for me it was kind of a nice little gentle step in, because it's my environment, and it was really well run meet. Having to stay in the hotel and not really getting to go out that much, that was kind of difficult, but also, it was very clear where we had to be all the time, and going down to the warm-ups at the right times, only having a certain amount of time to swim down, wearing masks everywhere. It was interesting. And then racing was really hard. It was a lot harder than I thought it was going to be, to be honest. Last year I raced once in Luxembourg, and I did a heat swim, and then I had to come home because I was really, really ill. So I didn't really race at all last year either.
Wow.
Apart from then a stand-up just before the pools closed. So yeah, it was tough, but it was also quite enjoyable. It was nice to see people, and it was nice to get back to that a bit more normal kind of thing. Obviously, it's super lucky that we've been able to race, so it was really good.
Good, and it's good to hear that it looked like it ran so smoothly as well, and it was just great to watch some swimming again and to see you guys compete. So what are your plans moving forward for the rest of the season?
So for me, just Olympic trials in April, and all I focused on is going. Well, I won't like say loads, but is qualifying and making that team, and then once I'm there, in Tokyo, making a final there. So qualifying first, and then and then get down to business. So we'll just see how that goes. Training's going really well at the moment, which is always like a nice confidence booster. So yeah, I'm just really excited for this season, because although last year I had a lot of time out, I've been fortunate that since the summer I have been in without too much interruption. So that's been something that I'm really lucky to have. So yeah, just kind of continue to like be excited about it, and I know that will then help me to swim fast. So
yeah,
really, and then after that I haven't really thought of haven't got any plans yet.
Well, that's great to hear, and seeing you train, because we were both on a training camp in 2018, and seeing you train, it's so impressive. So I have every faith that you will qualify for them games and trials. So moving away from swimming now, I follow your food account on Instagram called Feeding Your Feed. I will also link that profile in the description below for people to check out. And you post delicious and healthy foods, which are obviously to die for. What was that inspiration? What's the inspiration behind making that account?
I started it like 2 years ago, because I really like posting about food on my account, but I didn't want to annoy people. So I was like, I'll just make a different account. And I was quite quiet about it. Like, I didn't say anything to anyone. And then I kind of like got my boyfriend involved into it as well. And I'd like to think I'm a good cook, but he's like a really, really good cook. And then over the lockdown, so I kind of like a year into it, Tom kind of got like started getting on it with like the liking, following, like really increasing the followers, and since then we've just kind of gotten quite a few more. So yeah, over the lockdown it was really fun to do that and like focus on it, because it like again just gave me something else to do really. But it's been harder to do as we've gotten back into normal life, but I think that it's still something that I'll always do, because I really enjoy cooking, and then sharing ideas as well, and getting ideas from other accounts. So yeah,
that's amazing. And like I say, I like them, the foods that you post, it's unreal. And but they're so healthy as well. Like, I haven't really seen like an unhealthy meal that you've made, and it's for any athletes out there, it's great for them to see and take tips of what to have as well.
Yeah, I think like what we just kind of go for is what my nutritionist has told both of us, which is just really basic things, and like just getting the veggies and the protein and like the color on your plate, and we just kind of just plug that really. So yeah,
that's amazing. So that's all of my questions finished. So do you mind if we play a game of how many times have I swum that race?
Yeah, okay, but I think I'll be rubbish.
It's all right. It's just a guessing game. I have selected 2 events, and all you have to tell me is how many times you think that you've swum that race long course, and this including heats, semi-finals, finals, so all the whack. And I'll give you 3 guesses, and after every guess that you say, I'll say if it's either higher or lower.
Okay.
You ready? Right. So the first event is 100 back.
Okay. I think I did a lot more 100 backs when I was younger. I'm going to say, I could be completely out here, but I'm going to say 77.
Higher.
Oh, okay. 95.
Little bit higher.
98.
No, you managed. You swam 100 back 109 times.
Oh wow, that's more than I thought. Okay.
So that's
Cool.
very impressive. So moving on to your second race, the big one, 200-meter
Uh,
backstroke.
I don't even want to think about how many times I've done 200 back. I'm not sure. I probably be quite similar. Maybe a bit less. Okay, I'll start at 85.
A little bit higher.
Oh, okay. Go for 93.
Oh, a little bit lower.
89.
Oh, should I give you it? Should I not? It's 90. You swam it 90 times.
God, that is a lot of 200 backs.
But when you said 85 first, I was like, oh. That's incredible.
That's quite a good one. I might go and do that myself and look at all of my races and guess how many times I've done them. I don't think I've done the 200 breaststrokes, but
well, if we ever do an interview in the future again, I will select completely different events.
Oh no, that's fun. I like that.
But thank you very much for doing this interview with me, Chloe. It was an absolute pleasure to have you on and have this amazing opportunity to speak to you. I will link Chloe's social medias in the description below, her Twitter, her Instagram, and of course her food Instagram account. And yeah, I wish you all the best of luck and the best of luck for trials. And I do really, really hope that you make that team for the Olympics this summer.
Oh, thank you so much, Jay.
You're welcome.
Awesome.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.